You probably didn't expect to see me in this car, or maybe you did, but with my hands cuffed behind my back. And you know what's funny? That police officers are just regular people like us. Guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, with their families, interests, hobbies, and often, just like us, cars are often one of those hobbies too. By the way, interesting comment right after I posted a story of this car on my Instagram. And what does the police say about your videos? Do they like them? Well, they do like them, because we approach our work with healthy respect and humility, just like they do with theirs. And that's why we decided to bring you a day behind the scenes with the traffic police on the Automotive channel. I'm turning on the lights. Let's start.
In today's video, you'll get a ride in one of the most talked about BMW cars in the Czech Republic. Other drivers will encounter it too. However, they won't like it. But we'll introduce the work of the traffic police on a much broader scale, and we'll discuss important matters with the right people. Colonel of the traffic police will also speak exclusively on camera, and after more than 4 decades of service, he will literally open your eyes. Let's get to it. And we'll start right away from inside the BMW. What do you say? It's common practice to check highway vignettes as well as speed. But even more important is, and you'll hear this several times today, that drivers pay attention while driving. And that's exactly what this highway patrol focuses on the most. For example, here 3 large trucks are dangerously overtaking side by side, but because the truck driver in the fast lane handles everything safely and quickly, and as soon as he spots the highway patrol, he politely apologizes. In the end, it's enough just to flash the lights at him and warn him, and then everyone moves on. That's how I like it. This is prevention. Just a few kilometers further, the check post driver is bending down and looking everywhere except at the road. Even though there was reasonable suspicion, the highway patrol doesn't end up proving he had a phone in his hand, so his offense can also be settled with a warning. He's pretty lucky. But the driver in the dark BMW is a different story. He repeatedly breaks the 130 km/h speed limit, so the highway patrol decides to check the situation. A minute, 2, 3, even several kilometers together to check if the driver just left his foot on the gas. And in the BMW M550, I know very well that it's not hard. And then it's time for action. Even with heavy surrounding traffic, the monitored BMW speeds along at higher speeds than what the traffic police are willing to tolerate. And that's exactly the main problem according to our patrol. The driver clearly has no awareness of his surroundings. Even though the highway patrol is driving right behind him, he doesn't notice them. But even in heavy traffic, he sometimes drives at almost 180 km/h, and that's just not supposed to happen. After about 8 kilometers, they reach a section of highway with a significant incline. Even now, the BMW M550i is significantly exceeding the speed limit, and therefore, it's clear that there's a deliberate intention to drive faster than allowed. Solved. Anyway, let's take a closer look at our car. But before that, a few interesting insights and answers will come from Major Martin Socker.
In particular, drivers or road users should focus on the activity they are primarily engaged in. That means driving the vehicle, or as a cyclist or pedestrian, adapting your behavior to the situation that may arise around you. A lot of accidents and incidents in traffic are caused precisely because the participants are not paying attention to what is happening around them. Speed is, of course, one of the main factors that lead to traffic accidents, but it's not the only one. Of course, it depends a lot on the driver's abilities, the capabilities of their vehicle, the traffic situation, weather conditions, and so on and so forth. That also relates to how the driver pays attention to actually driving the vehicle. When it comes to increasing the speed limit on selected sections of highways, if all the conditions for raising the speed are met, then of course I think there's nothing standing in the way. Driving from the age of 17 under the supervision of a mentor is a new thing in the Czech Republic. We have discussed this issue for a long time, but I think that drivers who drive under the supervision of an experienced driver who meets the legal requirements to be a mentor have a chance at the beginning of their driving career to gain skills that probably can't be fully acquired during driving school training. I think that the training in driving school in order for a driver to meet the legal requirements to obtain a driver's license is one part. That means they have to acquire both theoretical and practical habits there, but then just as important is the practice in real traffic, so they learn to perceive what's happening around them and, as they say, think for others as well. That means to anticipate what might happen, and for that, practical training in driving school can't really provide that, also considering its time limitations. I think that any improvement in the opportunity to try out different ways of handling the vehicle is beneficial, but of course the question is whether it should be part of the mandatory training or if it should be an extra option that participants can choose to take advantage of.
So you see, even the traffic police believe that driving school simply doesn't teach you how to drive, operate a car, maybe. If you have talent, you pick it up very quickly, but a test track, skid school, or open days at the circuit aren't just for thrill seekers. Everyone should really experience them. That's the recommendation, and not just from us. Now let's move on to the 5 Series BMW.
These are BMW 540 vehicles, both in civilian and Czech police livery. These vehicles are fully equipped to document all illegal activities on the road. They are equipped in this version with concealed emergency lights and siren system. That means the vehicle, just as you see it, is then able to exercise the powers that come with it. The vehicle is also equipped with a camera system that continuously records the situation in front of and behind the vehicle, as well as measuring devices that are used both for measuring the speed of vehicles driving in front of or behind and for documenting all other situations in road traffic. We've been using this vehicle for a little over a year, and I have to say we're extremely satisfied with it. Even when we have the opportunity to show the vehicle to colleagues from, for example, the German police, they watch with interest how the vehicle is equipped and what capabilities it has. I think that in traffic, the vehicle serves the purpose for which it was acquired, which means very few drivers who commit any illegal act fail to comply when they're signaled to stop from this vehicle because they're aware of the vehicle's capabilities. The evidence recording system of this vehicle can detect illegal activity from hundreds of meters away. In most cases, long before the driver notices this vehicle, its crew has already documented his illegal activity. Given the technology used by this vehicle's systems, we can confirm that radar detectors and similar devices do not affect this vehicle's ability to document illegal activity on the road.
The day with the highway patrol continues, and once again, prevention and safety are the focus. Although they use a covert surveillance vehicle, it's best for them to be visible during routine roadside checks. Today, everything is going smoothly and the drivers who are stopped are disciplined. However, behind the scenes, we get information. You wouldn't believe how many motorists still don't wear seatbelts even nowadays. In a car with airbags? Basically, it's suicide. On the way back from the German border, the patrol notices a truck dangerously parked on the highway ramp. It's also a bridge structure, which means that's 2 violations at once. On top of that, the obstacle isn't marked, and during the inspection, the patrol finds that the driver also has a cracked windshield and an incorrectly set tachograph. However, the driver behaves very politely, so the fine is reduced to the lowest possible amount. Parking of trucks around highway access roads is, after all, one of the most common and biggest problems these traffic police officers have to deal with. It's a very dangerous phenomenon. The speed differences between vehicles are high when entering the highway. That's why it's necessary to keep the merging lanes and areas clean and clear. What advice is there for merging onto the highway in a passenger car? If the situation allows, use the full length of the merging lane, really accelerate in it to at least 100 km/h. Merging is much safer that way. A few kilometers further, a yellow Ford overtakes the patrol. Yes, viewers of the Automotive channel know that with the 5-liter engine called Coyote, it's also easy to get carried away. It's once again going significantly faster than allowed. And he doesn't slow down even in heavy rain when it can already be quite dangerous. The driver has no idea about the patrol, so it's resolved quickly. And because we were lucky, during the joint safety and traffic operation of the Czech and German highway police departments near the border, we managed to talk to a person who, thanks to an incredible amount of experience, can summarize traffic issues in a way that I could hardly put it better myself.
We have a unique chance to interview a traffic police colonel. I'd like to warmly welcome Jiří Ušák, head of the Department of Transportation of the Regional Directorate in Ústí near Stínadla, Bempan. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time, and I want to ask right away, just to give us a broader context, how long have you actually been serving? I hope I didn't offend you.
No, I've been serving a long time. I'm telling you, when I started serving, you had to give it full gas with the reins. I've been serving for 44 years.
Wow, hats off to you. So actually, you're the right person I want to ask. How has the work of the traffic police changed over the years? And from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest advantage that the traffic police have right now?
Definitely, we can talk about the development of technology, we can talk about the overall progress of society, which means an increase in quantity and an improvement in the quality of that technology. We can talk about a stronger network. We can talk about a generally different or changed perception of traffic issues in society as a whole. In laws and legislation and among people and road users, nowadays basically everyone is driving. A car today is not a privilege. A car is now a standard, everyday means of getting around or a tool for making life easier. So in general, I would say that road transport affects everyone's life. And of course, the police respond to this both with technology and by educating people in general.
And specifically from your perspective, is there one thing that used to be unthinkable but now makes your job easier?
There is one such thing. It's probably difficult to pick just one, but there are several things. Good technology, accessible networks today, so things that weren't possible before are much easier now. In the past, you didn't know who you were dealing with or what kind of driver was in front of you. Of course, it also brings more risks.
You've already mentioned that it permeates society. Actually, nowadays we all drive cars. I'll admit, and maybe someone will judge me for this, but I'll be uncompromising. I think having a driver's license shouldn't be taken for granted. That not everyone really belongs on the road. Simply put, some people have the talent and some people don't. What's your opinion on this issue?
We're in agreement on that.
Yeah, I'm glad about that. And another thing, how have Czech drivers actually changed in your eyes over that time?
Well, with Czech drivers, after the borders fell and the strict separation of countries ended, of course, through exposure to international traffic, or when they travel abroad themselves, they naturally adopted a number of both positive and negative habits. And I can say that the harmonization of laws in Europe has also contributed to the fact that Czech drivers now behave more or less the same as others. And I have to say from my own observation that Czech drivers behave more disciplined abroad than they do at home.
And now, specifically about the drivers, what does the traffic police deal with most often? And let's not talk about speed now, because that's what everyone thinks of first. But in your opinion, what is really the biggest problem with Czech drivers that the traffic police encounter on our roads, and which I think will need to be eliminated in the future, or at least worked on?
Where do we have the biggest shortcomings as road users, all of us in general? I would say discipline and consideration for others. And that says it all, because even things like drinking alcohol are about being aware of the danger you can cause, the danger that can threaten you. And that's also the case with speed. It's a completely different dimension. Speed, if I drive a nice car at 3 in the morning on an empty road and I don't manage to keep it at 90, it means something completely different than if I drive 70 at 2 in the afternoon at a crosswalk by a school in the city. Then I'm a murderer.
You said something that I try to get across to people in my videos, to make them think about it. That common sense behind the wheel is really the most valuable thing we have, in my opinion.
And it's important to distinguish that if I'm driving somewhere out there, God forbid, my speed crept up a bit, I have a powerful car and the road is empty, it's a much smaller problem than if I drive 45 by a school where kids are running around and the speed limit is 30 because the braking distance is suddenly drastically different.
You know, strict speed limits are one thing, but as you say, let's consider a situation in winter on an icy road where the speed limit in town is 50, and if someone drives in those conditions without winter tires, then 50 just doesn't belong there. You need to be much more careful in that situation.
Exactly. Thank you very much for your time. Do you have any advice from your perspective that you would give to Czech drivers, or specifically in our case to the viewers of the automotive channel, petrol heads, driving enthusiasts, something they could take with them for their happy miles?
Well, the only advice or message is that the police are not the enemy. The police have the same interest as they do to make sure everyone gets home safely. How they achieve that is up to them. Take care.
Thank you. That was Mr. Jiří. Have a great day. Goodbye.
We're almost done, so to finish, let's go over 3 current terms. Zipování.
A lot of drivers can't handle zipper merging, this situation in traffic.
The purpose of zipper merging is to make traffic flow more smoothly and to minimize traffic jams. That's why there's one more interesting piece of information about traffic jams that needs to be mentioned. When a traffic jam forms on the highway, and it's usually longer in the right lane, it's much safer for everyone involved if you don't make the jam longer with your car and instead smoothly move into the left lane, the emergency corridor.
A very important concept, especially on highways. It helps us reach places that require intervention from the integrated emergency response system. So we urge drivers that the moment traffic stops on the highway, they should automatically create the emergency corridor. A big problem. Of course, it also depends on the traffic volume on the highways. Often those drivers have no choice but to use this lane as well. But as part of our service, we try to focus on this issue so that drivers understand that the left lane is not for driving in continuously.
In the end, things turned out differently than many expected. And I would sum it up as follows. A police officer is not someone who punishes, who tries to catch you at all costs and get you no matter what. Nobody here needs to do that. The law is what punishes, and the police are here to make sure it is followed. These people behind me risk their lives on duty for our safety. And for that, they deserve my thanks and yours as well. So please, let's respect them and use our heads when driving on the road.